Good day, everyone. On behalf of Acting Director Tracy Troutman and the staff at the Bureau of Justice Assistance, let me welcome you to the webinar on small agencies implementing body-worn camera programs. My name is Chip Coldren. I'm the Managing Director for Justice Programs at the CNA Institute for Public Research, the Director of Technical Assistance for the Bureau of Justice Assistance's Body-Worn Camera Technical Assistance Program, and I'll provide the introduction for today's webinar. We are pleased to have John Markovic with us today. John is the Senior Policy Advisor at BJA, working with us on the development and delivery of training and technical assistance regarding body-worn cameras. John will listen in and offer some thoughts at the conclusion of this webinar. Today's webinar focuses on the experience of small police agencies with implementing body-worn camera programs. Colleagues from 3 agencies will discuss their experiences covering a number of interesting topics such as identifying a learning community, community engagement, training, the school experience with cameras, addressing officer and public concerns, and issuing an RFP. The more experience we gain with body-worn cameras, the more we come to understand the special issues that confront small agencies with this sort of technology implementation, and the more we value their input and their experiences. In fact, BJA has carved out a process to direct body-worn camera funding to small agencies in its policy and implementation funding solicitations, and the response from small agencies has been strong. BJA has also directed us to ensure that we address small agency needs and preferences in our technical assistance program. We are especially grateful to our 3 presenters for today's webinar. Lieutenant William Kashina from the Cherry Hill Police Department in New Jersey, Training Officer Eric Villarreal from the Laredo Independent School District Police in Texas, and Major Ken Caldwell from the Fairfax Police Department here in Virginia. Each of these sites received their body-worn camera awards under the fiscal year 2015 solicitation from BJA. We thank today's presenters for contributing their time and sharing their experiences with us, and for working with us on putting this webinar together. This is one in a series of webinars sponsored by the Bureau of Justice Assistance and coordinated by CNA for the Body-Worn Camera Technical Assistance Program. We thank the Bureau for its investment in the Body-Worn Camera Grant Program, in the Body-Worn Camera Toolkit, and in a range of technical assistance resources and opportunities for agencies implementing body-worn cameras. The Bureau supports state, county, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies in many, many ways, and we are grateful that they do. Permit me to make a few other comments. There will be opportunities for questions and participation toward the end of this webinar, so please make your thoughts and questions known. I can assure you that others will appreciate hearing what you have to say. Following the webinar, you will receive a request to evaluate it. Please complete the evaluation, and please give us your honest thoughts and recommendations. And please let us know what other topics you think we should cover on future webinars. Now, let me also thank Dominique Burton and Denise Rodriguez at CNA, who do the background work to make sure these webinars go smoothly. Let's have Dominique go over a few technical details. Then, Dominique, you can turn the webinar over to Lieutenant Kashina.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Since this webinar is recorded for the benefit of others who may view it later on our website, please make sure to put your phone on mute by pressing *6 and by unmuting by pressing #6. If you're having any technical difficulties, please message the host by using the utility box to the right of your screen, and we will help you to the best of our ability. If you don't get to voice your comments or questions, please use the chat and we'll do our best to respond to your input. Yet if you're unable to do so, please email us at bwctta@cna.org so that we can get you the information needed. And I'll hand the webinar over.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Kashina, and I'm a lieutenant in the Cherry Hill Police Department. I want everybody to know I have my whole team with me today, and we're really happy to be able to present today. Cherry Hill, New Jersey is a suburb of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We have approximately 71,000 residents living in just 24 square miles. Our daytime population is over 300,000 when all our businesses are full and our mall is full. And our current staffing is 138 full-time and 6 part-time sworn officers. One of the things as far as policy development we wanted to get into was take advantage of all the resources that the BJA has to offer. There's conferences, there's staff, there's somebody always, there's online services, there's somebody always there available to take a phone call or answer an email if you have a question. The toolkit is a good resource also. Reach out to other agencies and read as many policies as possible. You'd be surprised that as you look at other people's policies, you find things that you might have missed or things that you think, that's a good idea, I'm going to stick that in my policy. Your county or state government. I know in New Jersey, after we had already done our policy, the state came out with guidelines from the Attorney General's office that made us completely redo our policy all over again to be able to conform with their guidelines. And borrow the best ideas from all sources to improve your policy. Like I said, read as many as you can, take all their good ideas and plug them into yours. You want to make sure communication is with all your officers is open and two-way. Keep everybody involved from the very beginning. Talk to the unions, talk to all the different units. They might have different needs of body cameras and different questions than the other units might have. Form a committee and use that committee to make your program move forward in a positive manner. And also, don't forget about your local fire and EMS. You're going to be going on calls with them, and they have to know that all the officers are going to be wearing cameras now, and they might have to change some of their policies or some of the way they do business too. So you want to get some input from those people. Community involvement. We are very involved in the community here in Cherry Hill. We reached out to our religious leaders through our chaplain program. We spoke to community leaders, including, but not limited to, schools, staff, parents groups, the PTA, the ACLU, the NAACP, hospitals, our mall, local businesses, our minority civic association, and other groups in town. Take their concerns and try to, if you can, incorporate their concerns into your policy. The example of a community meeting that we had last year, we had about 40 people there. It was a good back and forth with the community, tell them what we were doing, ask for their input, and really explain things so that everybody understood what was going on. It saves you on the back end if you put the effort through on the front end. Consult your vendor for training materials. Take advantage of the vendor offers trainers. Our vendor, we had trainers here for 3 days. We did training courses in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evenings. We kept all the materials that they gave. We did train-the-trainer classes, and then the first day and the other 2 days, they sat there while our people taught, and they chimed in and helped them along a little bit so they could become proficient in training. And then keep good records of who did the training and who was trained. Have your general order policy author available at the training if you can. I did our policy. I attended every training session, took comments from the guys as they were doing it, answered questions from the vendor, so the vendor could tailor the training to meet our policies. It was a real good give and take back and forth, and we were able to redefine our general order a little bit more, tweak it a little bit more by the comments we got from the guys as they were training. We also had our agency executive explain his vision of what he thought the body-worn camera program was going to look like in our department. And that puts a lot of unrest to bed for people who don't know what's going on. They get it right from the horse's mouth, and the boss tells them what he expects and how it's going to work. Our initial deployment was to a limited number of officers. This way you can work out any kinks, any camera issues, policy issues before you go live. Make sure everything's uploading, downloading, doing all the stuff that it's supposed to do, when it's supposed to do it, and have your trainers available during that period and your IT staff available during that period to work out any bugs. Notify the public, if possible. We did a news release to the public, to the news media, let the public know. We posted it on our website. We went to our social media. Our officers are open to talk to the public about the program. On our website, we have the images of the device, so people know what it looks like. We also worked with the audio-visual club in the high school, and they made a video for us that we're able to show to the kids in the schools, the high schools, and their middle schools, and any other groups want to show. We did a couple different videos, one for the general public, one for school people. That's helped out a lot by them being able to know now that an officer is going to have a camera on and what they can expect when they have interaction with the officer. And then help your community partners help spread the word. Like I said, the high school made a video, and through our community and our religious leaders, through our chaplaincy program, we got the word out to all the churches and everybody in the communities. Meet with the officers, have informal meetings with officers where they feel comfortable asking questions. I told everybody as I attended these courses that they could email me, phone me, or slide a note under my door, however they wanted to get in contact with me. They could be anonymous if they wanted to, because we want this thing to work, and we wanted to make it so it works best for everyone. Community meetings, we had, like I said, we had meetings with the community. We had a couple of meetings with the community, and we took their input, and after the input, we sent them a draft copy with asking them for questions or commentary. Got several of them back with some comments, and it was very helpful in fine-tuning our final policy. The policy is going to be adjusted as you need it. Normally, we're on a 2-year review for our policies. We decided with this policy that we were going to do it 3 months from rollout, look at it, tune it up a little bit, then 6 months from that period, then a year from that period, and then we're going to put it on the 2-year retention policy. We're in that 3-month period right now. We're making some minor changes to it, and we're going to reissue the order. Some examples there: when to turn the camera on if you've had car cameras already. You know, what to do about on-call officers, K-9 officers. Do they take the cameras home, or do they have to dock them at the station before they leave? Officers with medical concerns, diabetics, or any type of medical problems, heart problems, or pacemakers, or anything like that. You need to address that. And then recording of suspects in hospitals. Our Attorney General has said that there's some limitations on that, so we had to make sure that our general order was tailored to that. We have a current version of our policy. It's available on our website, cherryhillpolice.com. Anybody can look at it. It's there for everybody to view, and if anybody has any questions, they could send a link to respond back to us, and we would answer their questions or comments. In summary, it's got to be a teamwork process. Our process started in 2014. We didn't go live with the cameras until the fall of 2016. So it took us 2 years to figure out what kind of camera we wanted and what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, and to roll it out. You want to make sure you involve everyone, you know, everyone in-house, from your own police department, your community, your state, your county, or your city government, and learn from your mistakes and learn from other agencies' mistakes. You know, if somebody near you has already rolled it out, you know, talk to them so that you don't make the same mistake they did. And then, you know, take all your feedback you get from your guys, tune your general order up so that it's good, and you'll roll forward with that. And then keep all the stakeholders involved in all the processes so nobody feels left out. There's some contacts here. Anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us, email, call us, whatever. We're more than willing to be helpful to anybody that needs help with a body-worn camera policy or body-worn camera program. Thank you for your time.
All right, this is Officer Eric Villarreal. I am the current training coordinator for our police department here in Laredo. We're one of 2 school district agencies. Along with me I do have Chief Robert Villarreal, and I have the grant coordinator, Scott Roberts. Just a little information on our background. Laredo's linked geographically and culture with Mexico. We're about 150 miles nearest to an urban area. Where we're actually located, we are in Texas. We are a border city. Just give you kind of a more of a background. We're dealing with Laredo, Texas. It's a population of over 200,000 plus people. Our area of coverage, we have a 30-mile radius coverage on our area. We have at least 36 sworn police officers in our agency, and we have about close to 24 to 25,000 students in our local area. Now, going to our effective procedures of body-worn camera policy development, in order for us to actually develop our structure dealing with our police department based on policy, we have to request training and technical assistance helping us out with this information. In accordance with that, we review documentation dealing with the Bureau of Justice Assistant and our website, getting with our toolkit. In order for us to actually draft our policies, we have to apply for the federal, state, and local laws in our area to figure out how we're going to develop our structure dealing with our policy and the deployment of the body camera, and also having other agencies getting involved. Our example would be getting in contact with our local district attorney's office, the county courts, dealing with the media, getting the public while policies being developed. This is an interaction to strengthen our policies to build trust with the community and our officers. Basically, what we're trying to have here is that we're trying to be very transparent with what we're doing with our agency here for our police department. And now, in order for us to actually develop everything here, we had a policy development scorecard and addressed it in all areas. The positive thing about having the development of our scorecard with the assistance with the Department of Justice and everything, getting in contact with our local agencies, dealing with our legal system, and everybody else that assisted, we were actually able to have a scorecard of 100%. That's one of the good things out of it. Now, requesting assistance from other grant awardees and taking our time developing policy, we started our development in 2015. We actually got everything approved dealing with our policy by close to September of 2016, and that was an approval that we had to go through with our board of trustees. In order for that to actually get it cleared, we have to have the development and reviewed from them in order for us to structure a positive policy. After our policy development, we make the certain criteria presented to the county, the city, school, and board for approval prior to implementation of what we were just talking about. Now, our policy, in order for us to stipulate that every sworn officer is required to attend training prior to our body-worn camera deployment, we have to have an extensive amount of training before our deployment for the body-worn cameras. This training is not going to be interrupted in our normal operations, but what we mean by that is that we have something here in the school district what we title as staff development, which is a day that there's no students. It's just what it is for days that constitutes with just staff and employees that belong to the district. Those actual days we have staff development training that we can send our officers to review more of their policy and getting prepared for the deployment. Scheduled trainings, we do according and provide our officers sufficient times to accustom themselves to the reality of using this equipment. If officers feel pressure that they may reject the technology, we do communicate with them. We're trying to take small steps in order for this program to go correctly and well. The importance of the tools that we have provides an opportunity to enhance our job and builds trust with the community. Have each other sign that they have received the training on policy and are aware of the responsibilities prior to the camera equipment. What we do have already right now in our explanation is that we are in our second phase already done in order for our deployment of our body cameras. We are still just already finished our pilot program. This was effective by the end of January. Right now, our development that we're going is we're trying to select an actual vendor in order for us to prepare for the deployment, the full deployment of our body-worn cameras. There has been concerns, should be a priority while developing the policies and continue to integrate part of the entire process with the inception to full deployment and beyond. Training and meeting with officers provides us a venue to allow officers to voice their concerns, ideas, and share knowledge. During the time of this process, we are evaluating with the officers dealing with the pilot program, with the body-worn cameras. They are excited about it. They are getting prepared for the deployment, and there's been a lot of positive things to it. Officers did bring up a couple of concerns. Those issues have already been proceeded with them in a positive factor. The officers should be fully aware of the policy and privacy protection provided them along with the procedures that address the malfunctions, reporting, situation awareness. The officer already has an idea already, me being the training coordinator to teach him in case there are malfunctions dealing with the reporting or anything with the equipment. They have a step-by-step procedure already explaining in case this equipment does become faulty or if there is a malfunction, let's just say maybe a glitch on the software, we're able to take command and take charge if there anything happens with it. Officers pretty much feel more comfortable after the deployment that they're immediately involved in all phases from the policy development of training, deployment, and community outreach initiatives. We've already had the community outreach before. We're looking, this was happening by early of 2016. We did have what they have here, parent conferences. We did communicate with the parents, dealing with certain criteria based on the officers that they're going to be having body-worn cameras, giving them knowledge of what's going on so they can have a better understanding of why the police officers here inside the school district are having body-worn cameras. That itself has already been explained with the county attorney's office to explain the legal issues dealing with state law in reference to juveniles being reported. Now, the public concerns are a priority while developing the policies and will continue to be an integral part of the entire process from inception to full deployment and beyond. Media coverage, presentations, town hall, and communications with the public will provide a venue that allows public to voice concerns, ideas, and share knowledge. This, at the same time, we look at the public that should be fully aware of our policy protections provided along with procedures that address open records requests, release of the video footage, access to policies and information locations via website. This is an understanding that we had to get with our legal team. This would be involving our legal attorney that is inside our school district, as well dealing with attorneys that belong to the district attorney's office and the county attorney's office, dealing with open records and dealing with release of records, dealing with juveniles. At the same time, we have to look at a certain software if it's able to have the capacity of having it dealing with redactions of certain video because of the juvenile privileges that you have to cover and be aware of, dealing with open records on that part. The public feel as well to feel comfortable with the officers, the usage of the body-worn cameras, if they're informed during all phases of development from policy development to training. That's been cleared up. Building the public trust is a real critical factor with us to implement the body-worn cameras. Phases and testings of the vendor equipment should be considered prior to requesting price quotes. On our part is that on our pilot program that we developed out of the 3 vendors that we're looking at, we had to figure out, what we're working with before we even request any quotes. So we communicated with the vendors, let them know what they're able to actually offer based on no documentation dealing with that we're going to stay with that specific vendor. It's just a trial version that we want to test out their equipment before we even start requesting any quotes. At the same time, the issues that we developed dealing with the certain vendors, we had to look at the feedbacks at that regarding battery life, video resolution, time limitations of recording. We had to look at all those factors. In titles, we need to discuss as well is the service options, replacement, what are going to be the repair costs dealing with the vendor and the contract. On all this, we had to look at everything and anything that now is going to be dealing with the vendor in case the body camera does come out defective, or if the body camera, we get another one per se, if it just has warranty, is it going to be refurbished or not? We have to look at all those findings as well, and if it's going to be a benefit or department going with that specific vendor. We already getting the officers' feedback on equipment testing will be key to making the decisions to purchase through vendors. in the policy, development scenarios to determine overall equipment costs that are outside the scope of our grant funding. We have to look at this part here. This is something that's very important in our police department we have to look at. Now, if we have funding to purchase the body cameras, at the same time we have to look at, because our department, our patrol units do not have in-dash cameras. This is the first time that our agency is being exposed to dealing with audio and video recording. At the same time, we have to look at it. Now we're going to develop something of dealing with storage. How long is it going to be there, dealing in our files, in our server? We have to look at the cost, how much we have to plan out. What are we looking at in about 5 years? How much is our agency going to be have to, hold on one side for general funding just based on storage itself? We have to look at all those factors, and at the same time, if we have a suitable amount for the grant, whatever is being pending, do we have to actually take it over with our general funding at the same time? There has to be a lot of constant research dealing with the vendors. We have to plan out ahead. What our agency did is we have to do kind of a 5-year plan. We have to look at, after 5 years, what's an estimated cost that our agency with our police department has to pull aside every year that they requested through the board on general funding on that one. Now, sustainability plan that we discussed in early yearly deployment budget request, considering for upgrades, changes, vendor contracts and extensions, and the storage types. Are we going to go in a cloud, or are we going to go in a server, backup system, staffing, and expansion? This is very important that dealing with us with the body cameras, we have to have a backup system in case the software does go down. Is there going to be a plan B of saying, you know what, we have this evidence stored in another place in a cloud setting, or we have internal storage that's already saved in a different location within our IT department? We have to look at that. At the same time, we have to look at the positions for staffing. I'm sorry? We have to look at the staffing as well, if on our employment, if dealing with, if we have to hire another personnel just to focus on our storage and everything else on that. Now, phase-in and full implementation options should be considered prior to deployment. Again, we were talking a little while ago about the phases. We are currently in phase 2, getting prepared of phase 3, which would be the next initiative of choosing an actual vendor. The good thing is, out of all this, we've already developed our policy, and it's already been cleared and approved. That is also going to be available in case any other agencies want to inquire dealing with our unique agency, because since we are a school district that has their own police department, it's kind of unique from other agencies that are in the county or municipal. Going here at the piloting different types of body-worn camera equipment with officers already trained on policy will provide important feedbacks regarding battery life, video resolution, time limitations. What we're talking about, the main thing here, now that if we have the piloting program, we have to look at these factors again extensively before even choosing a vendor. We already know about being aware of potential malfunctions, damages during operations, and equipment replacement. That has already been explained to the police officers as well. Now, here where it says officers will be prepared that are training scenarios, dealing with active shooter, hostage, observes unlawful activity, what full capacity limitations that our equipment has during the body-worn camera rollout. We do have at least about 6 active shooter instructors in our agency, and this is something that we're going to be preparing our officers. What we're looking with our body-worn camera deployment is that hopefully we'll develop some scenarios as a practice run that in case we do have other extensive trainings, what it would look like and what our officers have to be fully aware dealing with the deployment of body-worn cameras. We do plan out a 2-year implementation plan, minimum depending on the number of officers and sites our agency has, for the opportunity to address any implementation time lags. Prepare a contingency plan for an unforeseen unintended consequences. We have to look at the wells with the budget cuts, storage costs, future equipment, or increase in staffing. We have to look at this one here. If we have at least a certain amount of funding that we're prepared in a 5-year plan, anything could happen that our budget could be reduced, and we have to be prepared for that. Training should be continuous at a minimum every 6 months. Review policy with officers to ensure the fully understand of our policies. Now, do apologize on this one. The other slide should have already been in. My email address, my number, and my contact will be there. I do apologize on that one on that slide. That's not on it for the presentation. But if, again, there is any other questions or concerns regarding our agency, you are more than welcome to review our body-worn policy manual as well. That's already been cleared if you all need got a copy of it. Now, if there's any other questions or concerns, y'all let me know. Again, I do have with me the Chief of Police with our agency that if you have any other questions, he'll be able to answer them as well.
Good day, everyone. My name is Major Ken Caldwell with the City of Fairfax Police Department. Just to orient you a little bit, the City of Fairfax is located in Northern Virginia, right outside the located within the National Capital Region, just outside of Washington, D.C. We authorize strength of 69 sworn men and women. Back in, excuse me, Dominique, I can't control the slides. I'm sorry.
Not a problem. I can move them for you.
Okay, thank you. The city, Fairfax City, was a little bit different. We started in about 2014. We started testing body-wear camera systems prior to us submitting our grant. So we were well into the process of testing different cameras. While we were doing that, we issued a special order, and basically here in our agency, a special order carries the same weight as a general order. It's just a temporary, not intended to be permanent. So we did issue a special order which covered our basic recording protocols while we were testing cameras. Once we wrote our grant and received it, we used the special order as a starting point for our formal policy development. Like other agencies that have already talked today, we gathered and reviewed existing law enforcement policies on body-wear camera programs. We reviewed the PERF report on implementing a body camera program, the IACP model policy, and actually, I found very helpful, we reviewed the ACLU's report, Getting to Win-Win, the use of body cameras in Virginia. I took quite a few bullets from that report and incorporated it into our policy. We also found it very helpful to review the TTA scorecard. That was instrumental in our policy development. And what we did, obviously you use that scorecard. The scorecard's going to, highlight areas that your policy should address. It's not going to tell you, how you should address it per se, but it is good. It's a very well far-reaching document that will help you draft your policy. We used the scorecard, created an initial draft policy, and of course, everybody's policy is going to be different. You're going to need to incorporate or draft a policy and create a policy that is consistent with, other policies you have on evidence procedures and things like that. We used this initial draft, and again, we also created a policy committee to draft our initial body-wear camera general order. We used this initial draft as a starting point to hold our stakeholder meetings. We met with city and county prosecutors, just like everyone else, mental health professionals, victims advocacy groups and representatives. We met with the ACLU, and of course we met with members of our community. We had a large community outreach event with members in the community, and what we did was focus on privacy issues. We covered our whole policy, but the focus of the community outreach event was on privacy issues that we felt the community would want to speak about. We took all that feedback from all the meetings that we held. We put some of that critical feedback back into included it into our draft policy. Once we had a draft policy that we could put, we issued it to supervisors and officers to help us create a finalized draft. As we put that out to officers, the thinking of our policy group, our policy committee, was that we understood that we were going to go through many changes in this policy before over the next year. So we finalized a draft that we were happy with, and we submitted that to the TTA team for scoring. Scored out well, and we were very pleased with that process and the help we received from the TTA team. We went live in the field. I'm sorry, can we just go back? We went live in the field. After we went live, we solicited feedback 1 month after field deployment. So basically what we did, we finalized our draft, and of course we did our training, and I'll cover that in a little bit, but we used that. We're currently using it 1 month after field deployment to make additional policy adjustments, because no matter how much you think you're going to be able to foresee all the issues and different recording protocols, you're not until I guess there's a couple ways to go about it. We even tested, during our special order and testing policies, we thought we had a good policy, but I tell you, you're going to have to go back, and I would recommend that you do that rather quickly once your officers start using cameras in the field. Okay, thank you. The RFP process for us, our particular vendor, I was under the mistaken impression that we could sole source with the vendor we selected, because basically the manufacturer was the only location in which we could purchase our chosen make and model. I dealt with the grant manager and was corrected in that regard. So what we did is have our city contract specialist. She was able to locate an existing contract to ride, and I guess the longer we go through this process of more and more grants being issued, I think you're going to be able to find an existing contract with your particular vendor. So please don't forget to do that, so you don't have to, it's a difficult process to write all the different the aspects of your whatever camera operating system you're going to go with. The particular contract we were able to locate was written which allowed us to realize some discounts and stay within our initial quote and our grant budget. Officer concerns, again, I touched on this a little bit already. As we engaged in writing our initial draft, prior to doing that, during that same time frame, we created and distributed a survey, and we have Power DMS in our agency, and and it has a survey function, and we are able to create a survey to solicit officer opinions, perceptions, and concerns with moving forward towards a body-worn camera program. We found that helpful. We were able to put all the data, and that went directly to our command staff and ultimately to the chief of police, just so he had the opportunity to see where the department was. And believe it or not, the officers were in large part very positive about the department's decision to move towards a body-worn camera program. Prior to final approval, again, as I said, our draft policy was distributed to all SWOR members for review. And again, from the outset, we've been very, let's say, aggressive in making sure that our officers know that our policy is going to be subject to change, and we're going to have to tweak it. Basically, a living document that we are going to have to make additional adjustments. So, and we made sure that we were going to that they knew that they were going to be, as end users, they were going to be instrumental in helping us finalize a solid policy. Like I said before, we're currently in the process of soliciting additional feedback. We have that. We've made additional adjustments, and the adjustments are awaiting the chief's signature as I speak to you. Department training. prior to ordering our equipment, our IT staff conducted, we had already selected our vendor. Our IT staff conducted roll call training to give officers opportunity to handle some equipment that they had given us and provide feedback about the different camera mounting options, given how we have external vests, and there's all these different options with our particular camera system, so they were able to handle the equipment and basically play with it. Our vendor conducted command staff training and a question and answer session. That was very helpful to just make sure that all the commanders and command staff had an opportunity to see, touch, and ask questions about the equipment and the vendor's software system. Our vendor also conducted administrative training. We have a few select people that are that we have designated as administrators of our bodywork camera program, and they covered all aspects of the vendor's data management program, and you can see there viewing, deleting, restricting, sharing, all those things that we're going to have to do inside the data management program provided by our vendor. We also, like other agencies, we had a trainer-trainer session. Basically, we selected from each squad and each basically how we're deploying, as everyone in patrol is wearing a camera, including supervisors and also our motor officers. That amounts to about 38 officers. So we had a trainer-trainer session. We basically selected officers to serve as basically squad level trainers to assist the IT staff in answering questions from officers. Continue with training. We conducted multiple end user sessions covering how the cameras operate and how to, again, to use the data management system. Officers were a little bit I guess intimidated by that at first, but once we had enough time in training sessions that they felt comfortable prior to deployment of the prior to our go live date. 1 week prior to, again, the IT staff met with each squad member just to conduct brief overview of camera operation and do a data management refresher. Again, post-program implementation, we continue to meet with each individual officer as requested to resolve camera operation problems and provide one-on-one help. Our IT staff also created cheat sheets and other agency-specific documentation that we use in-house here to assist officers with proper camera and data management use. And that's my information. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to be with you. Anyone, please don't hesitate to call me or contact me if you think I can be of assistance.
Okay, thanks to each of our presenters for the information provided today. I think it's very valuable for others to hear about your actual experiences, and I especially appreciate you mentioning your experiences with the technical assistance available from BJA. So we do have some time if anybody would like to ask any questions of our presenters at this time. Anybody? Hello? Yes, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Adam Prinz. I'm with a small agency down in north central Florida, and we have applied for the BWC grant this cycle. And I just had a question for Major Caldwell when he was just referencing sole source manufacturers. Limited number of vendors down, obviously, in this area where we are. And we have recently received a grant for in-car cameras from a sole source manufacturer through our state Department of Transportation. And we're hoping that if we are awarded through BJA's grant, that we could use that same sole source manufacturer for compatibility's sake with software, which would save us a great deal of money. Did I hear you say that that's not possible?
I'm sure. Adam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. Well, I like you thought, you know, you can sole source under the grant. I'm sorry, but the grant process and dealing with the actual grant is a little difficult for me so I have to go through, you know, a learning curve here because I handled a federal grant yet. But I thought, oh yeah, I thought for sure we were going to be able to sole source. You know, you can sole source, but there's a justification you're going to have to write as far as sole source, and there's. Okay. Yeah, I can get with you offline a little bit, and I go through my notes and stuff, and please give me a call, and we can talk later offline. But, you know, I learned that you're going to have to it's a very cumbersome process to sole source in a federal grant, and you have to have a justification. And I thought the justification of they're the only people I can go buy this stuff from was going to be good enough, and I learned that that's not quite accurate. So, you know, please, you know, get with me and I'll check my notes, but and we can kind of go through that in a little more detail if you don't mind.
Yes, sir, I absolutely will. Is there a good time to contact you?
Sure. Well, any day. I'm usually sitting here, and if you send me your contact information via email, then I'll reach out and we'll hook up.
Okay, I will do it.
Okay.
This is John Markovic from BJA. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I just want to piggyback on that. So the sole source justification is possible, but as you know, federal grant-making agency, we're very careful about sole source funding. You know, we want the competition, we want the bidding process to be competitive and open and fair. There are exceptions for sole source, particularly the situation you mentioned. I don't want to guarantee that it would be approval, but if you're piggybacking on a previous bidding process that was competitive, fair, and open, that's usually sufficient conditions. And I appreciate the diplomacy that our friend from Fairfax used in talking about how cumbersome the process is. It is, but there are reasons for that. So should you get an award, we're more than happy to work with you on going through the process. I can't say it's going to be seamless, but we'll get you through the process.
No worries. I appreciate that additional information.
Good.
And thank you for hosting this webinar. This was very educational for me. Like I said, like Major Caldwell, this is the first federal grant I've been involved in. So it was good to have this in terms of policy development and whatnot, especially being from a small agency. So I thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions anybody would like to ask? We still have a little bit of time.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Karen?
Hi there. This is Officer Karen Budenhagen from the City of Mount Vernon Police Department in New York State.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick question to follow up with this kind of sole source and the pricing conversation. We've started our T&E. We're not too deep into it yet, but I haven't really done any research as to pricing, contract pricing yet. Have any GSA, federal or state contracts, has any equipment been placed on those lists yet?
No, not that I'm aware of. That's
okay.
A good question, but I don't. I think we're kind of leaving this to the individual agencies. So there may have been some federal purchases done by federal agencies where that may apply, but I will check into that.
Okay, yeah, like I said, we're not too deep into the T&E, and I've done a little bit of research with some products, you know, some of the higher names that are out there, but I haven't come across any contract pricing, so I was just curious if you had any information regarding that.
It doesn't sound familiar. I don't know that that's happened, but I can check into that. I think that that's not the case, but I will double check.
Okay, so it's right now it's the bidding, the open competitive bid process.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you so much.
All right. John, thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah, just real quick, this is Mr. Roberts from Laredo ISD. Tagging on to the idea of sole source, I'm really hoping that term could be removed from the lexicon on the conversation, specifically because under EDGAR rules, under federal guidelines, we need to follow a certain procurement, and there's multiple vendors when it comes to body cameras and policing equipment around the United States. So, the idea of sole source is very touchy-feely when it comes to procurement law and when it comes to federal guidelines. Therefore, I would urge all of these small agencies to look at the possibility of maybe having an existing contract through state. They have what's called buy boards or state-approved vendors, or if they do need to go through a procurement process of a request for proposal, that they're very meticulous in doing so, and they're getting feedback from their officers and recommendations as to the type of equipment directly from their officers moving forward, because I do realize, even in the state of Texas, I was just reading some things about a certain entity that has a current federal grant as well, are going through some legalities regarding vendors right now, and tending to tying up their grant funds and their way of procurement, and it may even jeopardize that. So be very careful about when you're discussing any idea of a sole source vendor when it comes to these body-worn cameras, because there is no sole source vendor for this equipment, where there's actually several vendors for this equipment. So, look at your state to see if there's an existing contract. Look at your procurement laws to make sure that you're on the right track and following what EDGAR rules and guidelines are under the federal grant requirements, and that you're also following your state and local procurement procedures before moving forward on that.
Great.
Thanks, Scott. Would anybody else care to pose a question?
This is Officer Eric Villarreal. We had some technical difficulties. We were kind of down over here at our police department, but if there's any other questions pertaining to our location, I mean, we're free to answer them. We're here. Along with me again, this is Chief Robert Villarreal. That's also with me in this call.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
Chip, this is Ken from Fairfax. Can I just clarify one thing, please?
Please, go ahead.
Basically, I was under the mistaken impression, when we went through our process, we were testing cameras. We were testing camera equipment. And, then we made our selection, hey, we like this camera the best. So when I say, I was under the mistaken impression that we could sole source, because there's only one person that makes that camera. Where I was corrected, by my grant manager is you really can't do the process that way. You have to put out bids. You would have to put out, here's what I want in a camera, and like the gentleman, Scott just said, then you would have to write an RFP with, I want a battery life this long, and I want these options in my camera, and put it out for bid. So that mistake was on my end. I thought that we could just identify a camera, and because they were the only, the manufacturer, that was the only place we could go buy them was from a certain vendor, which happened to be the manufacturer. So I learned, that's where I learned that wasn't correct thinking on my part. That's why I put that in my presentation, and we were able to find a contract that someone already put, a request for proposal out and stuff like that. So, when I just wanted to offer that, so when agencies are in the T&E process and they're looking for cameras, they're going to be looking for what they like in a camera, but then eventually, you don't want to get into a process where you write your RFP where it's only it's so limited that only one camera is going to be able, or one camera manufacturer is going to be able to bid. So you it's a difficult process, at least from my end, I thought, and we were very lucky in just finding a contract we could ride.
Okay, Ken, thanks. This is a topic that's on many people's minds, so if there are any other comments or questions, please chime in. Okay, John, you want to help us wrap up here a little bit?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank the team at CNA for arranging this latest webinar. So we talked about sort of the perspective of smaller agencies in implementing body-worn cameras. And we learned from 3 very unique agencies about how they've implemented their body-worn camera programs in very unique settings. Sorry here, I'm trying to do this from my cell phone, so I'm having a little trouble reading my script. Anyway, I think what was particularly impressive about today's presentations was the depth and breadth of outreach that were common across all sites, as well as dealing with the myriad issues from policy development to procurement. I think Cherry Hill, for instance, during their development, vetted policies with a wide array of shareholders within the department and with outside organizations such as the police union, with fire and EMS, which was fairly unique, I think, among the agencies we've been dealing with. Not too many have mentioned that explicitly. And they made a real conscious effort, I think, to get feedback both within the department and from outside the department, and to get those concerns from the rank and file out front so they can deal with them. I think we're seeing across the nation that there are still some pockets of resistance, but by and large, officers look favorably towards camera deployment. And I think Laredo's approach stressed very similar themes of teamwork, and we're very attentive to officer concerns from the get-go. Laredo's implementation, I think, underscored particularly well the importance of training, careful training and policy development, and reconciling those with technical considerations. I think finally the implementation process in Fairfax struck very similar themes. All these presentations hung well together. Fairfax showcased the benefits of a collaborative and process, cultivating feedback, and in particular borrowing best practices and documentation from other agencies. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and as there's a growing body of community of practice, I think we're learning that some of the trailblazer agencies, I happen to be here in Las Vegas. We had a meeting with Las Vegas PD, who was a trailblazing agency and continued to be sort of one of the forerunners of body-worn camera development. So I think that community of practice is something very important, and each of the presentations today really highlighted that and the benefits of that. So as we, BJA and CNA, continue to develop these webinars, these podcasts, when we hold national and regional meetings, we really feel privileged to be part of this, what I call community of practice, around the use of body-worn cameras. And we hope that you continue to follow these developments. New things keep emerging, new technology develops, and that has to be interfaced with policy and practice. So I think in closing, Dominique has provided some links to our body-worn camera toolkit, as well as the training and technical assistance site that our friends at CNA provide. So I want to very much thank you for your interest, Chip and his team, for their work on continuing to do these great webinars and podcasts, and thank the presenters for really doing a great job today. Thanks all.
Okay. Don, thank you very much, and just let me convey my thanks as well to Ken, Bill, Scott, and Eric, and you too, John. I appreciate very much the participation in this webinar today. I hope it was helpful to everybody, and let me just make my final push to ask you to complete your evaluation. It'll show up in just a minute after we sign off.